All right, here we be.
Here we are.
Addicts back in the war zone.
Yep. I am back in the war zone.
That is awesome. We'll give everybody a few minutes here to make sure we don't have any problems or whatnot. See what we got going on. Yeah.
Steve re-recruited me for tonight.
Sure did. We spent a lot of time talking about managers. Yeah, I was manager. Blah, blah, blah. But this is a little bit bigger than that. So I've got coffee.
Oh, yeah, trust me.
I've got legit coffee in my wonderful snowman cup, wishing that it wasn't hot as balls outside right now. But
it's so hot. Oh my goodness, Jesus, Steve, here in my
Lord,
office.
It's terrible.
Whew.
Hello, Irish. Welcome.
Good to see you, Addicts. Good to see you there, Irish.
So, the whole purpose of this tonight, I've got some slides we'll go through like real fast that just kind of give us a roadmap of where we're going for the rest of the episode. But this is really meant to be like open conversation, get people's thoughts, see what everybody kind of feels like, the situations are. What's up the fuck today? Good to see you. Matt Starr, hello. Welcome. So first of all, shameless plug. There's the shirts, links in the description. Go get one, wear it with pride. Okay. So like I said, I just got a few slides to kind of show where we're going. It's quite interesting, to see some of this stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And what's up, Mr. Zom? What's up, hero? All right. So the first thing, we're all familiar with seeing this shit. All the restaurant signs up, sadly due to government handouts, no one wants to work anymore. Therefore, we are short-staffed. Please be patient with the staff. Blah, 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 blah. We're all familiar with this. This has been out everywhere, right? I mean,
yeah, this is just a common thing now.
Yeah, I mean, and the biggest picture right there, somebody quoted, every restaurant and retail store, if they haven't already closed down, should post this outside. Yeah, that's fantastic. So, and then a report came out from Axios that they've got their data now, right? Look at this. 1.8 million Americans have turned down jobs due to unemployment benefit. But they did some fancy math. They extrapolated the total. They only surveyed 463 adults. But somehow, with their magic extrapolation, this equates to 1.8 million Americans have turned down jobs due to unemployment. And they've got the third thing, highlighted. But we don't want to talk about child care obligations or, I don't know, COVID or medical limitations or any of these other great reasons why somebody would not be going back to work. And we're splitting hairs. I mean, we want to point out the unemployment insurance, which is 13%, but it's tied with health and medical limitations. So this is, just another way of them having a narrative and try to spin this bullshit. Okay. So
yeah,
really and truly. And then from there, always follow the money. GOP governors are cutting unemployment aid. Some have ties to the businesses that may benefit from it. Restaurant lobbying groups and CEOs contributed to many of the GOP governors now ending pandemic unemployment benefits. U.S. Chamber of Commerce wants to end $300 a week federal unemployment benefits, blames it on bad job report. Employers and governors pushed the myth that unemployment checks keep lazy workers at home. So, yeah, it's all about money.
But in actuality, would you rather stay at home and do nothing and earn more than having to go and deal with retail every day?
Well,
I think not.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's reasoning. So you move on to this. Oh, look. We all quit. Burger King staff leaves message to management on viral sign. We all quit. Sorry for the inconvenience. From June 23rd, workers are leaving the retail industry in droves. From July 8th, the restaurant workers are quitting in droves. That might not change anytime soon. Recently in the news,
What?
July 12th, Frito-Lay workers go on strike, with some claiming they face 84-hour weeks. Everything has gone up, one employee stated, but our wages have stayed the same. Some 649,000 retail workers gave notice in April saying my life is not worth a dead-end job. Right.
Yep.
All right. So cool.
Yep.
So
what I have to add to that, us essential workers got fucked.
Oh yeah.
If you are an essential worker, you got fucked.
Well,
no offense.
But wait.
Like you was actually very blessed.
Yeah, but wait.
I must say.
There's more.
Oh boy.
And the retorts. This is the real stuff. We're sick, we're tired, and we don't die for pennies anymore. Sorry, we are closed. Professionals don't want to work for less than minimum wage. The only shortage going on in restaurants is wages. While owners received million-dollar bailouts, workers were forced to survive on $300 a week or work in a job sector with the highest COVID mortality rate for minimum wage. It is time we change this and organize for a better industry. Then we have somebody else's answer to the signs that are on the door. Apologies. We are short-staffed. No one wants to work anymore. Also, we're bad employers who pay poverty wages and offer zero benefits. We're also pretty horrible to work for. This is clearly the government's fault. Ooh, but wait. There's more. So, this popped up on Twitter. This pizza chain owner who pays $16 an hour says there's no labor shortage, just a shortage of businesses willing to pay a decent wage. While opening 12 new locations this year, Lastoria said he'd received well over 100 applications for each job. Our new locations are fully staffed and we plan to open another 15 by the end of the year. He said he'd been able to dodge the labor shortage by leveraging an employee-centric business model, go figure, that involves paying staff $16 an hour on average among other benefits. We are living proof that the claims that business owners are making about the impossibility of paying people enough money to live on are false. Those claims were designed to protect the old corporate mindset that permits shockingly high executive pay and staff exploitation. So yeah. And then you look, with retail companies feeling the pressure to do more with less in today's economy, we are seeing more retail workers express unhappiness with their jobs. Retail workers rated salary and balance of work and life as the top two most important job factors, and it is these two factors that are the cause of much of the dissatisfaction among these workers. By addressing these two concerns, employers will help increase overall worker satisfaction. So, lots of stuff going on there. But wait, there's more.
Oh, man.
All right, so this big chart right here, we can thank Irish Connection for. He put all this together and sent it to me. It pretty much tells the tale since like 1990. It shows you what the federal minimum wage was in 1990, what it is in 2020, shows the inflation of the wage since 1990. And the big key takeaway here is, all right, look, wages, 91% increase since 1990. Yet rent went up 147%. A Big Mac went up 102%. Gas went up 146%. College education went up 129%. Look at the stock prices of our favorite retailers. Walmart, since 1990, their stock price is up 2,089.15%. Target, 2,236.33. Tesco, 198.15. And Kroger, 1,772.56. Those are essential businesses. And then the chart on the right shows you since 1940, the dark blue is productivity. All right. So that's, output of business, sales, whole 9 yards. The light blue line are salaries and the minimum wage. So right around 1970 was the last time you got the most bang for your buck. From there on, everything else went up while the worth of your salary went down. I had a poll on Twitter. Do you think, as a byproduct of the pandemic, highlighting how shitty retail service industry jobs are, that the trust between employees and corporate/management has been broken beyond repair? 77.8% yes, 22.2% no. Some random Twitter thoughts I had. The first one I'm going to credit my wife for, because she really was the one who kind of brought this up to me that I just didn't think about. One thing I don't see talked about enough: while retailers are raising the starting wage to attract talent, they also need to raise current employees' wages proportionately, because there's nothing worse and nothing that will cause more drama than having an associate that's been working there 5 years, and all of a sudden, because they can't hire anybody, they hire somebody off the street at the same amount of money or more than their current employees. That's just bullshit. And then, I thought to myself, so if the people that are complaining about unemployment benefits from keeping people from working are the same people who are against raising the minimum wage, what does that say about our society? Hell, I guess low wage workers are expected to just serve and suffer. And I also said, instead of calling it a minimum wage increase, how about it's called a quality of life improvement? So, what's up, Blaine Tag? Yes, absolutely. Irreparably broken. And actually, I'll get your thoughts on that here very shortly. I got one more slide to go through, and then we just all going to discuss. And then Philly Essential Employee threw this up on Twitter, and I went and looked it up. This one's pretty pitiful. Full-time minimum wage workers can't afford rent anywhere in the United States, according to a new report. That is amazing. Think about that. People working minimum wage jobs full-time cannot afford a 2-bedroom apartment in any state in the country. The National Low Income Housing Coalition's annual Outreach report finds in 93% of U.S. counties, the same workers can't afford a modest 1-bedroom. Think about that.
If I may add to that, last year when I tried to move out, not last year, but at the end of 2019, I was making $18.85 an hour, and I was not able to afford rent with 2 other roommates.
Yeah, think about that.
Splitting the bill in thirds.
Yeah, and look, it says given each state and locality's minimum wage, the report finds that the average minimum wage worker in the United States would need to work nearly 97 hours per week to afford the average 2-bedroom home. That's more than 2 full-time jobs. Now think about that for just a minute, how much that sucks. And the comment I made was, we live in a society where the one thing that people need the most is the hardest to get, and that's a place to live and a place to call home. That is just bullshit, man. And no one seems to care,
Yeah.
And
it's always like pointing fingers, like, oh, because they're getting paid to stay at home.
Right.
And in actuality, like, that's not the real problem here.
No, it's not.
The real problem is us essential workers that had to work in it. Like, this is no shade toward you in any way, shape, or form, Steve. Like,
I know.
That sucks that you got laid off. Like, but I mean, I'm sorry, you got rewarded for it. But like someone like me, when I was working on the freight dock, like, I got like 1 bonus for Thanksgiving that was just taxed to hell, so I just got the same check anyway.
Right. Well,
and on top of that, like, usually when I'd go into work, we'd have anywhere between 30 and 40 guys on the dock, but during the pandemic, anywhere just between 10 and 20.
Correct.
We was all expected with the same wages to do the same work, putting ourselves in danger every day, be outside on the dock around all them people every day, and truck drivers exposing themselves to God knows what and coming back and exposing it to us, and we take it back to our families. Because there was a day out there that we literally, like, a good like 10 to 15 guys, it just spread, just all of a sudden hit our dock hard. And that's my biggest problem.
All right, well,
what reward do I have?
Okay, hold up. So let's get the reward thing out of the way. All right.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. When you've worked for your entire career, and then one day you're just told, hey, you don't have a job, sorry. And for the first time in your life, you're like, oh shit, what the fuck am I going to do? There is no reward to that. No, let me finish. Okay. It was a reward to a lot of people who got laid off on some of these shitty jobs, because they actually were given time to think and time to reflect and time to understand they've been mistreated for a long time. Okay. Now, once again, we're going to get back into this whole thing, and I don't like going down this path because, yes, there's people out there that are completely lazy that have been abusing the system long before COVID happened, and we know that they're there, but we're not talking
Oh
about
yeah.
those folks, okay? You know,
No.
from my own personal standpoint, I've paid into that system for 30 fucking years. I was never going to
Yeah.
get any of that money back, right? So all of a sudden I
Yeah.
got laid off. The excuse I was given was, oh, I'm sorry, you know, we're closing down because of the pandemic, but the government's got this program, blah, 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 that took me forever to get eligible for.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? I pissed that money away for decades. I'm
Yeah.
never
No,
going
you
to get any of
deserved
it back. So, hey, this is the only way I'm going to get back. But I'm different because not everybody has that mindset. Okay. Now, the fuck today. Yes, I get this. And I understand it's shitty for managers, but the managers need to sit back and shut the fuck up for a while, myself included, and understand it's not always about the managers. Yes, we have to do more work. Yes, things are more stressful. We signed up for that job. Okay. I get that. But the bigger issue is, as an industry, you got corporations and managers looking at what's making it hard for them versus listening to their workforce. And, you know, it's one of those things where at some point in time, the little people, quote unquote, essential workers, the cogs in the machine that keep the machine running, need to have some care taken for them. And, you know, it is what it is. Yes, it sucks that the people that were stuck in grocery stores and stuck in places that wouldn't close and things like that, it sucks that was the hand that was dealt. But there are millions of people out there that got told to fuck off. You know, it didn't matter how loyal they were to whoever they were working for. They got dropped like a rock for the sake of profits. Period. And
I
now,
love Best Buy.
and now these people are now the ones lobbying the governors and lobbying the states to knock out the unemployment to force people back into shit jobs. But here's the funny thing. A lot of the states where the unemployment's been cut off, those jobs still aren't getting filled because they had all that time to think, I deserve better than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where the revolution has begun. Those people don't care about the managers anymore. Those people don't care about the corporations. That trust is broken. And they are going to go do anything else other than service industry, retail, you know, public facing business jobs. That will be their last thing that they want to do because they realized they're more valuable than that. And quite frankly, I agree with them and I don't blame them. And yes, it makes it hard on a lot of people out there that are in the business. And I get it because people have to work and people have stores to run and people are, you know, managers have ridiculous expectations levied on them. It's hard. Okay. But rather than being mad at the people that aren't coming applying for the job, you need to be. I had a manager at Guitar Center. His name was Jay Bell. And he always said, bitch up. Don't bitch down. Go up the chain. And you know what? There's people out there, they're going to find themselves in positions that and it's going to suck and it's going to hurt. That you may just have to throw your hands up in the air and say, I've had enough. But that should tell you something right there. That should tell you that, well, shit, you're probably not working for a reputable company anyway.
It's actually incredible how much of that is actually going on.
Yeah. And Matt, Florida, you know, I've read all the nightmares about that shit. It was the same in Georgia. Same. There's a class action lawsuit right now. There's still people that applied for unemployment when the pandemic started that were approved that haven't received a dime. And
I'm gonna raise my hands real big on that because I got a nice letter there stating, "Oh, you were approved." It was stated that because I got laid off for 2 weeks while I was at my previous job. because my entire family caught COVID. I couldn't go to work, and because I was part time, no benefits for me.
Well,
So I had to apply for emergency unemployment just for 2 weeks. I got a nice little letter saying that I was going to be sued for that.
oh, well,
So that was a fun little thing for me to get
well,
through.
and here, let me give you one better. Let me tell you how bad the system's fucked up to not take care of people. I moved from another state to take the job in Georgia. I started the job on December 2nd, was laid off March 31st. Guess who didn't make enough money in the state of Georgia to qualify for Georgia's actual unemployment? And had to go
That's fucked
and
up.
had to go 2.5 months without seeing anything. With my wife busting her ass at a grocery store, trying to do that. And it was terrible. And did my employer care? Oh, hell no. No, they washed their hands of it. You know what pissed me off about all that was that company, the owner got the payroll protection program loans to take care of the ride or die folks. He let everybody else just hang. And then they call you up. Oh, we need you to go work, but you got to drive an hour and a half one way, to go help us out at this other store. Fuck you. No. No. And that's the problem. It's what can you do for the corporation? It's not what the corporation can do for you, because they dropped you like a rock, and it didn't matter. So Matt says, I had to pay back in the end because they didn't process my request to end benefits. Completely broken. Yeah. For some reason, and unfortunately, it seems to be a product of the South, because most of all the problems you read about are in the Southeast. I mean, hell, I did not know until today, believe it or not. I know we have a federally mandated minimum wage, but if there wasn't a federally mandated minimum wage, Georgia's minimum wage is $5.15 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. And I lived in Georgia for 10 years. So yeah. I mean, and the going theory was that they made it hard on purpose to keep people from abusing. Yes, that's the argument, or the fraud. And, I know Georgia had 3 different instances where they were hacked, and I had to jump through all sorts of hoops to prove who I was and whatnot. But, and what's funny is they're posting all this stuff on Twitter about you need to go out and find a job, because now that the federal stuff's over, if you're on regular unemployment, which, I'm not, you got the job search requirement and whatnot, which is great. Okay. But they're pushing everybody to go to work, and they cut everybody's benefits, but they still refuse to open the actual offices and have their employees in the buildings working. You want to talk about some bullshit right there, and it's just crazy. And here's another thing. We're not getting political here, but the current administration, when these governors said we're cutting the unemployment, tucked his tail between the legs and said, okay, they can do that. Follow the money. It's all about the money. It's all about the back pocket deals. It's all about the fat cats getting fatter and the cats with mange and, malnourished dying in the street. And that's where we're at. And that's why I personally enjoy reading these reports about people quitting and going on strike and whatnot in these jobs, because there's, an effect on the people that are still in these businesses. Yeah, man, it sucks. It's hard. No one's saying that it's not, but damn, it's great to see people finally standing up and saying, hey, we're worth more.
Yep. Enough is enough.
Matt says they'll say they give a shit, but no action, no money where their mouths are. 100%. Hero says it really is sad that because of the bottom line, they won't take better care of those who stuck it out through all this. Exactly. That's the other thing. You've got employees that were stuck with you. All right. You got employees that, because you were a grocery store or whatnot, you were essential, right? You got a little bit of time to shine, in 2020, but now it's all back to normal. And they're hiring people in at higher rates, and they're not giving you a raise to make up for it. It's just terrible. I mean, it's just terrible.
I know of a company that I'm not going to say the name of the company, but they just gave them all $1 raise and took away the 4 quarterly bonuses they get, and that upset me very dearly when I found that out.
Well, you know, when you look at what they were doing for people and whatnot. Okay, let's talk about the businesses that tried to swindle their way and stay open. All right, Hobby Lobby, Jesus' Craft Store. When faced with mandates saying you're not essential, you have to close down, fought it tooth and nail, used everything under the sun. Their big one, we sell the fabric that people make masks out of. At home, the home decor superstore. I guess they felt like selling patio furniture and home decor and stuff like that was essential because they made sure, for whatever reason, you know, they were essential. How the hell are they essential? You can't eat, you know, fake plants. I mean, I guess you could, but there's no nutritional value there. But they stayed open. Offices and such. Most of the offices were closed. So you couldn't use that either. I mean, these companies fought and clawed to, you know, stay open for money, proving, and then it became pick and choose. It became, you picked which employee you liked, and the ones you didn't like, you laid them off and hoped that they ever came back, you know, kind of thing. And then you start saying, oh, we'll do sidewalk service and stuff. It was shit, man. It just all a scam. And because they sold food, food. Yeah, you can go buy shit the fuck today. How much was like a candy bar like that you would buy at a convenience store is like double the price there. Iris says over here we have the professionally unemployed that make it their job to live off benefits. Yeah, that we do too. We do too. And you know, that's the sad part is that number really didn't change during the pandemic. They're always there. They're always there. There are people out there that have been taught legitimately how to use the system. You know, how many kids you need to have, you know, how many, I mean, they know it. There's like, you can get little books and stuff that show you. But here's something that's interesting. We're talking about wages. So let's think about this a minute. Let's talk about single mothers. Okay, for just a minute. And I did some research on this last night just to make sure I wasn't crazy. Okay, so cool. They bumped minimum wage to $15 an hour. Well, if you're a single mother with 1 or 2 children, guess what? $15 an hour is enough money to make you ineligible for Medicaid for your kids, EBT, any kind of housing assistance, right? So you're making $15 an hour, which I think is like $600 a week. Okay. We went over a couple weeks ago how much benefits cost. So you're paying for health insurance, you're paying for gas, you're paying for groceries and whatnot. $15 an hour is not enough, man. It's not even close. It is not even close. Fathers too now, Steve. Yeah, you're right. Single parents. But it's, think about that. Mr. Hazuki says, man, chain retail vape store stayed open against closing orders to take advantage of others closing because they were better locally known. Yeah, man, if you just, to me, when they're talking, I ran a music store. Do you know those fuckers found a way to say that they were essential because they sold guitar strings and they did wind instruments for school and what? Look, I love my guitars.
Schools weren't open.
But those aren't essential. All right? They're just not. When I think essential, I think grocery stores and I think pharmacies and gas stations, you know, so people can get gas. That's it.
Better have some toilet paper, too.
Oh, yeah. And so all these companies, you know, now trying to whine about nobody wants to work and blah, blah, blah. Shit. They jeopardized the health of their associates because they just didn't want to lose the sales. It's asinine. And, Jimi Hendrix's guitar was essential. Yeah, there's some that are, but your local podunk, Saturday night band in the local bar when the bars are closed. No, it's not. It's not essential anymore. But yeah, I mean, it was straight up abuse. It was abuse on multiple levels. It was abuse of the employees that were stuck in the businesses they were in because they didn't get anything out of it other than fear. Because at the time, nobody knew what was going on, and really and truly, still don't. Number two, the people that just got laid off out of nowhere like it was no big deal. You had long-term people that had never been unemployed before that were staring down the barrel of that going, oh, fuck, what do I do? And the company they worked for wasn't going to help them. It was just like they used the government handouts as an excuse. Get called a hero, but still always expendable. 100%. Heroes by name only. It was just a big PR scam, man. It's just like, and I'm not getting into like whether you agree with it or not, but it's just like, okay, somebody called essential workers heroes. So everybody jumped on that and the essential workers were heroes, right? Mm-hmm. But then it's Gay Pride Month. And then all of a sudden these retailers are like, hey, we'll celebrate that. It's all PR. You start reading, the CEOs of these companies and whatnot in their background, they're not supporting any of that shit. They're just doing it because it looks good. It's all just stupid. Kind of typical how the country treats people they call heroes. Yeah, exactly. And,
war veterans were spit on.
Yeah.
About that for a minute.
I mean, really and truly, Alex, you make a good point there. If you look at just the overall treatment of our military veterans, we should have known that essential workers being heroes, that wasn't going to last real long. I mean,
yeah,
it's all asinine. So, for you guys in the chat and Alex, what do y'all think should be done? I mean, where does it go from here? If I was still a store manager, yeah, I'm sure I'd have lost all the weight I need to lose, and I'd be worked to death and probably pissed off at the world. But you know what? It's not my fault. The company mistreated these people. So,
yeah, honestly, I know this is something easier said than done. I would like to see something more like Ireland, like be able to get a contract for a set amount of hours,
mm-hmm.
like for minimum wage to go to a minimum of $15 an hour. I think that is the way. I would just like to see people guaranteed hours. I want to see people guaranteed better benefits. Don't want a health insurance that I call and just pay money to, and then, oh, well, you didn't meet the deductible.
Well, when you say better benefits, do you also mean affordable benefits?
Yes. Yes, we do need better benefits, affordable benefits.
Yeah.
100%. So you ain't just losing all of your paycheck. And that's really all I want, just better treatment for workers. That's really it. That's how I feel about it.
I mean, we're at a point in time where some serious change can be made because it's such a snowball effect. And ladies and gentlemen, let's be real here. All right. With the Delta variant coming and the numbers aren't looking so good, end of August could be rough, and what are these companies going to do for you? We live in a country, okay, where our government, both sides of the aisle, made it that no one is accountable for anything. An employer is not accountable if they didn't really do the right things and an employee catches COVID and dies. It's the vaccines. The vaccine companies aren't even accountable. Let's say, a nurse gives a bad dose. It kills somebody. That person's gone. There's a culture of zero accountability in this country. And that's what's caused all these problems to snowball. And, yes, I agree. I foresee a massive workforce walkout, and it is well deserved. I agree 100%. Matt says, I've been trying to find a local nonprofit who advocates for a federal $15 minimum, but was coming up short just to go mop the floor or do something for them. Yeah. I mean, but there again, it still comes down to the fat cats and their money, because inflation and supply and demand. Okay. I'm still, and I'll die on this hill, that the cost of living is a manufactured number to keep profit margins from slipping. So if a company says we make 30% profit on this item, no matter what happens with the economy, we're going to shift the price up to make sure we always make that 30%, rather than doing the right thing and the humane thing and take a hit on the profit. They're just not going to do that. I'd just like to have my company to stop having wonderful sales and packing people into my store like sardines. Our COVID numbers in Hillsboro just jumped back up, and we haven't had a slow weekend in over a year. Yeah. Look, retail, the restaurant industry right now are the scariest places to be. Because regardless of what anybody believes, regardless of what your stance is, we really do not know how to stop that damn thing. We don't. We got a pretty good idea, but we're not there yet. And, you've got businesses now saying, okay, just from a public perception, we don't want anybody wearing masks anymore. That's stupid. Look, if somebody doesn't want to wear one, fine. Good on you. But everybody should have the option to either wear one or not. And if somebody wants to wear one, cool. You should be allowed to. Careful, Russell. We're not going down that road. And so it's one of those deals where, these essential workers, think about this now. Think about the abuse they put up with, the horrible treatment they got, and they've stuck it out this long. What do you think's going to happen if by fall this shit blows way out of proportion? People are going to quit.
Yes.
People are going to quit. Matt says
totally.
Oh,
like Matt said.
Matt says cost of living is bullshit. I moved from New England to Florida and our pay dropped because cost of living, but everything from rent to groceries cost exactly the same. Also, car insurance is more here. Yeah, I mean that's crazy. I still believe that a tree's still a tree. I mean it hasn't changed in millions of years. It's a tree. So why is that tree more expensive now? It's just, and think about the things that our government does. Like, in some places, you're not allowed to grow gardens. I mean, you're not allowed to grow your own food. Think about that. You get caught, they'll tell you to kill it all, and then they'll fine you. I mean, it's all about money. It's always been about money. Period. End the story. That's why this administration bent slap over for these governors that said, hey, we're stepping out of the unemployment. You know who that really hurt? That hurt people that had businesses that they ran their own that didn't recover. Maybe they've owned their business for 15 years. That's all they've known. You cut off that the PUA and all the government paid for unemployment. You just put them in the poorhouse. They're trying to find jobs. They ran their own business. So, and depending on how old they are, ageism is a thing. I mean, I'm about to turn 51. Ladies and gentlemen, you best believe that once you hit 50, well, actually once you hit 45, people start turning a side eye to your resumes and stuff. They do. Ageism is a thing. And, but yeah, so you've got that shit going on. And you've got gig workers, you've got musicians, you've got, all sorts of different things. The roadies, the road technicians, the people that they made their living on the road. They didn't qualify for regular unemployment because they were independent contractors. The government steps in and says, hey, we're going to give you this lifeline until September. And some of these, Georgia canceled it. Okay. Think about that. What is one of the biggest exports in Georgia? Entertainment. The hip hop music industry, Hollywood movie industry. You just sentence people to, a life of misery. People that have, honed their skill for years, and they might not have been rich doing what they were doing, but they were living comfortably. Now they're going to have to go take one of these shitty $7.25 an hour jobs just to have something. That's unfair to them. I mean, absolutely unfair. Hero talking about the Chamber of Commerce. They did get involved. They got involved on the behalf of the businesses. The Chamber of Commerce are who went and lobbied the governors, in addition to the businesses, to cut the unemployment. The Chamber of Commerce is not concerned about anything but making sure pockets are getting padded. That's it. Period. Ryuji says, and even better, I hate so much the whole places are hiring, but not so great when if they take that job, they're now making possibly less than half they were better before. Yeah, exactly. So there's this really shitty part to all this where you've got employers thinking, haha, these people got knocked off. They're going to have to take the shitty pay. Well, it's starting to backfire because people are not.
They're just not going to do it.
It's Hero. I'll have to disagree with you. Chamber of Commerce is just as corrupt as anything else. Has been for decades. It's a cog in the money making machine. They will not give two shits about an essential service bandwagon.
I will say, me looking for a new job, I'm trying to find somewhere that I can make reasonable. I'm not trying to go work 725 somewhere when I can do my gig job that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Making just as much money as I made before. So,
there's creative ways to do it. I mean, and see, the bad part is like online jobs. Everybody, there's so many of them listed, but so many people are trying to go get them that now a lot of them are scams.
Yeah.
Matt says, I have this theory that one day all retail will be based on the gig model. You'll log in see what shifts are available that day, and you work that day or don't based on what they need. Very possible.
Matt, I actually had that same theory. I was talking with my father about that the other day, that I believe it will be independent contractor route, because there'll be a lot of people sign up to work. It will be so much easier to pay them that way. Like, think about that.
Matt, they're probably already thinking about it, to be honest with you. You become a 1099 worker, independent contractor, that once again relieves the retailer of all sorts of responsibility and accountability.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, so The Fuck Today says, well, there are a lot of people thinking employers are so desperate for people they can request dumbass availabilities and think we're just going to take. Interviewed someone who said, well, that's what I want to work. And I said, sorry. Hey, you know what? You're right. There are people that are taking it to the extreme. Hero actually told me about a situation that she witnessed. Something very similar. Look, it works both ways. You still have to have some common sense. All right. You can go into all sorts of demands and say, I want to make $15 an hour, but you still need to be respectful when you come into an interview. You don't, it's not like whose dick's bigger contest here. It's you need a job and you're interviewing for a job. This is not, and that's where
you went there willingly.
Yeah. The people that are doing that are the people that would have been a problem to begin with. The people that have been in the business a long time.
Yes.
They're not going to do that, but you're right. You're right. I mean, you've got people now that all going in like, they're going to give me whatever. No, they're not going to give you what you want. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. There's a reason why it's called a job, but in some instances it's better than nothing. Matt says that's true. They used to make me go out on the sales floor and start sending people home. Yep. There's also confusion that you will be required to actually work and work. Yeah, there and you know what? That there too. That's. I don't think those people, to be honest with you, those people sound like the ones that were like the career benefit getters that all of a sudden found themselves in a position they've got to go get a job. That sounds like those kind of people. Because the sensible people who've been working for any amount of time, they're not going to do that. They're just not. You know, you'll have a respectful conversation, and they might just be like, "Well, you know what? Thanks for explaining the gig to me. This is just isn't for me," and keep it moving.
Yeah.
You know,
that's how I would.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's but you know. Oh, and Hero says, and folks that want to get hired to get fired. Well, fired doesn't really do you any good on the unemployment thing. Because if you get terminated, they're supposed to turn that in. And then when you get terminated, most times, if it's terminated with cause, you're not eligible, period. And they sure as hell won't be now, as much as they're trying their best to get everybody off unemployment. They'll be all over that. Oh, you got fired for picking your nose? It's tough shit. You're out. You know, you're in the middle of a pandemic. You shouldn't have done that. You know, kind of thing. But, you know, I mean, it is what we're seeing is, and what a lot of people don't understand, we're living in a very historic time as far as the workforce in this country goes. The workforce does have all the power right now. It doesn't mean they need to go in making, you know, ludicrous demands. But there's enough people in the same boat that they can start to band together and demand change. And change does not mean you get everything that you want. Okay. It's not like that, you know, you have this wish list of inobtainable things. There's still some common sense behind it. But
change may also mean you have to do something that you don't necessarily want to do.
Right.
But that's what we need.
Yeah. And, you know, this thing is making people uncomfortable. It's making retailers uncomfortable. It's making, and look, we talked about this, you know, when Irish was on, and we were talking about the difference between Ireland and the United States, and how he did not know that waitresses and waiters make $2.13 an hour plus tips. You know, I read something today that makes sense. So basically, these restaurants are paying their employees shit wages. They're expecting their patrons to pay the salary of their servers while paying for their food. So they're double dipping the whole damn thing. I don't feel sorry for any of these restaurant people. I don't. Sorry. Because you look at the guy who ran the pizza place. He did right by his people and he's fine. And the company is flourishing. There's proof there. You know, it's just people don't do it. And you get these older people who started restaurants and whatnot, and they go on this old model. And, you know, here's the thing. If you start a business these days without thinking that you should pay your employees a livable wage, if they're full-time, if they're part-time, it's a little bit different. But if you go into the fact you're going to open a business based on paying people as little as you can, you probably have no business starting a business, because you just proved that the money you make on your business is more important than the people that are driving your business. So, I mean, think about that a minute. You know, Hero and I had a conversation one night, and it got kind of heated, you know, about, you know, people, you know, local businesses and whatnot, and the impact of raising wages and stuff. I get that. But if you've sat down with pen and paper and wrote your business plan down, and part of your business plan was to pay every employee as little as you possibly could, why don't you not hire anybody and just work there yourself? You know, because that's just how, you know, it comes out that way. And, you know, so some of these restaurants I don't feel bad for. And the ones that are putting these signs up, shit, I don't care if they close down forever. If you're going to put those signs up, you get whatever's coming to you.
Well, $2.30 per hour, and you're just depending on customers, Karens and Kyles and Lindas and Daves, just to give them good tip money.
Yeah,
that's where you went wrong.
And
that's where you went wrong.
And the other thing,
while the owner of the restaurant is doing this,
yeah, I mean,
Just fanning them ones,
and
like, or hundreds.
fuck those signs. Absolutely, Matt. Fuck those signs. I mean, you know, they should shut down and go bankrupt and never allowed to open another business because they're just not, most of them aren't trying to find a way to make it better for everybody. And, you know, it's one of those deals where, you know, like I said, you know, the tweet I did, if the same people that are complaining about people being unemployment are the exact same people who are complaining that they shouldn't raise the minimum wage, we got a lot of really shitty people in this country. And I really, once again, who the fuck are these people? Once again, are these old Southern housewives whose husbands work construction and throw them wads of cash to go shopping so they won't bother them while they're off on the golf course with their buddies or you know, banging their mistress or whatnot? Because none of that seems like it's rooted in reality. You know, it's, I mean, who are these fucking people? It's just, it's mind boggling to me. You know, so basically they're just saying, if you work in retail or service, we don't care about you. You just suffer. You can die. You can go to hell and die. You know, the South Park thing, you know, because that's what it seems like. You know, they don't want you on welfare as socialist, but they don't want to pay you a living wage. What, I don't know, man. I don't know where the fuck that comes from. That's some bullshit. I mean, do you know, and I personally don't know anybody like that. Do you, Alex?
Mm-mm.
I mean, I've never.
At the end of the day, Steve, at the end of the day, the only way you're ever going to reach like true fortune here, if you are just extremely lucky and win a thing called A, the lottery, B, you just happen to be really good at a sport, or C, you can act really good.
Look, I just think it says a lot about our lack of humanity that we don't want to. And like I said, I'm not saying anybody needs to be rich, but if you can't sit back and look that some of these things would improve somebody's quality of life, you only live
I'm not
once.
gonna lie, if somebody wanted to drop me a bag, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing: if you don't want better for your own people, I mean, you know, for your humanity, man, you're just lost. I mean, you know, it's just terrible. Karens around my neighborhood are like that. I'm surrounded by people who have been very outspoken that people who work in customer service don't deserve more than they get. Yeah, I have seen those where you got kicked off the Facebook groups. That was always good. And you know, you look at, let's see, Russell says, those men who could work one job and support their families, that's when America was great. And hush if you don't think so. Well, it's because your money went further back then than it does today. You know, like I said, 1970 was the cutoff. That's where the wheels came off the wagon. And unfortunately, that generation has a hard time wrapping their head around what's going on in present day. You know, they remember what it was like for them, and they see that they worked real hard and they didn't make a lot of money, but they had a house and they had 2 cars and they blah, blah, blah. Yeah, because there was not such a gap between how much you made and cost of living. It's like, cool, you've already paid off your house. Your car's paid off. You're living comfortable. That's great. But nobody stood up out of that generation and said, hey, you know, you heard a bunch of shit about how you want to make sure your kids have better than you had. What the fuck did they do? They sat back and watched the government inflate prices, didn't raise wages. They didn't do a damn thing at all. And they want to say that, you know, well, son, daughter, I just wanted you to have better than what I had growing up. Well, you whatever, you know.
Yeah, really set it up real well, didn't y'all?
Oh, there you go. That's 100% correct, Matt. Number 1 answer in my town. It's a job for teenagers to learn what work is, not for adults to support families. And, you know, and that stigma needs to go away. And now here's something that I haven't seen posed. Okay, fine. You want to call it a minimum wage? Cool. Well, how about this? How about, you know, most states you can start working at 16. So from 16 to 18, you make 725 or whatever it is. But the moment you become an adult, then that changes. So yeah, you'll have the people that will get their experience out of high school to work and blah, blah, blah. But once you're an adult and you're expected to, contribute in adult ways, you should be paid as an adult. Back then you could support a family easily because your kids were at work by 9 years old. Yep.
Just a suggestion real quick before I'm going to dip.
Yep.
But an idea that I like, what I would call the 90-day treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Hire someone in, start them at like the $7.25, $10 range. And if they make it, then you offer them full time with the minimum wage of 15 at least. Only if they make it.
I disagree.
Oh, you wouldn't like that?
Nope, absolutely not. Because there's a whole lot of businesses that right now are advertising. You can make up to $16 an hour.
Yeah, true.
And you go interview and you find out that's not true. They're doing this probationary period thing. No.
That was just a
because that offers no incentive whatsoever.
True.
So,
you get to keep your job here.
Right. Yeah. Hero says business would abuse the fuck out of that. Yep.
After 18 years of service.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. It's like, you can't get us for false advertising.
Finally get your pay.
Yeah,
finally get your pay.
Russell says you want to teach people to work, pay these teenagers to dig ditches, lay asphalt, do construction, leave Hardee's biscuits too old. Not even that, Russell. If you want to teach,
OMG, it's headaches.
Here's the thing: if you want people to work, treat them worth a shit. For one thing, yeah, you need people to dig ditches and shit like that. I get that, but you're still we're past the point of shit being punitive. Okay, teaching people to work doesn't mean making them do manual labor. If that's what they want to do, cool. Fine. But it's just, everything's so punitive and there's hoops to jump through. There's no guarantees. It's like you said, Alex, talking about how in Ireland they have a contract, guaranteed hours. We need that here because we have these businesses running around saying, okay, look, we're going to hire you for 15 hours a week. Okay. But we expect you to be on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We expect you to stop whatever you're doing and show up when we need you. And you're not allowed to get another job because then, this job has to be, your priority.
You're committed. You are committed.
Yeah. And, it's one of those deals where, we've lost our way as a country. And as far as like retail and food service, I mean, they got used to for years abusing the shit out of people. And now they just have their panties in a wad because people got smart all of a sudden and have stood up and said, we're not taking it anymore. That's all this comes down to. And Hero and I had a conversation one time and she said, it's kind of like they're going to see who breaks first. It's a war. You've got the workforce, you've got the companies. Who's going to give in first? Whoever gives in first,
yep,
is the loser. And,
yeah, Steve, I enjoyed being on the show tonight.
Yep.
I hate to dip on you, but it's nice to talk to all of y'all again. I'll probably be back on Wednesdays. I kind of miss doing this. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
Kind of miss hearing Steve angry rant.
It's not angry rant. I'm passionate about it because enough's enough, man. But
y'all have a good night. Steve's gonna slap up a picture of me if he stays on much longer.
Oh, it's not a picture of you.
Oh, that's unlucky.
Yep.
Anywho.
All right. Peace out, boy. Have a good night. All right. So going back to, everything. I mean, we're at a very pinnacle point in the history of the workforce in this country. And it's really interesting to see where it's going to go. And, if there was ever a time for the collective workforce of retail and grocery and, restaurant workers to come together to actually make the change that they want, it's now. I don't think we'll ever see this opportunity ever again. This is, this is it. And, when these restaurants start closing and whatnot, and you see businesses having to cut their hours, eventually, there'll start to be some headway. Irish Connection says retail is shit in Ireland, dealing with Karens, corporate bullshit, etc. Same as you guys. The main difference is legislation. We have more rights than you guys. Absolutely. We say we're the greatest country on the face of the planet, but um, it's we'll sell everybody down the river for $1, and it's just. I don't know. See here, our kids have chores to adult, not to make money. We feed them and give them all the crap they desire. Iron Maiden says, I can't see that becoming a thing. I guess I missed a lot. I don't see how that would work. Defuctus says, Russell, I think you have this fantasy thought about the past. That's possible too. Look, we got to move forward as a society. And if we can't move forward by making things fair for people and to improve their quality of lives, like I said, no wonder the aliens won't come down and talk to us. I mean, we're just, it's just terrible. Thinking of the meme with the from We're the Millers, you guys got right. Yeah. So, Matt, I do the thing on Twitter and whatnot, and, I'm very passionate about this. I believe that, a lot of what we've talked about needs to be talked about. And it's a very niche kind of thing. So it's not like, a lot of people are dialing in or whatnot. Everybody loves the memes or whatnot. But, we've got to get to a point where we're having a conversation. What's got to be done about it. And, there's tons of things. I don't remember who it was on Twitter. I posted like the theoretical, idea for a TV show where you go in an interview. And then somebody responded with, how about a TV show where a district manager has to spend X amount of time in a store for so long before they actually get the position? I think that's brilliant. And I think that a lot of companies would not have a lot of district managers if that was the case. Iron Maiden, you should feel more valued here. Look, Maiden, when we were training in Salisbury, I was like, what the hell did I get myself into? This was terrible. Mr. Hazuki says, a village is only as great as its weakest, lowest members. Correct. Matt, do we need district managers? I don't think so. I was telling my wife, we were discussing it. I think what I think is going to wind up happening is I foresee a time where, especially stores like Dollar Tree and Dollar General and places that have like a bunch of stores right around, I think you're going to see more and more. Instead of district managers, you're going to have multi-unit managers. So you might have a store manager who's responsible for 3 stores, and they're going to do that, so they can pay less store managers. But I could see that happening. Most district managers I've had were useless anyway. So yeah. Oof, what a time. Correct, Maiden. They could send an email to tell you that you're crap for less. Correct, Hero. You're right. Or I can't believe that we're not a point. You could probably eliminate district managers with FaceTime. Okay. You could have a regional vice president who sits in an office and, the store has an iPad or a cell phone or whatnot, and he FaceTimes you and says, hey, go show me this area of the store, or hey, go show me this, or hey, go show me that. You don't need them. Technology has put us in that workspace to where you could do that. And yeah, the DMs will be absolutely useless at that point. Most of them are useless now anyway. I've worked with quite a few that were just, I don't even know why they existed. True story. Had a district manager show up and sit in my office, put his feet up on the desk and watch football on his phone. Yep. That's a well-paid salary right there. We wouldn't have had this conversation in 1970 because I wouldn't even be taken seriously because I have boobs. Yep, that's true. Unfortunately, there are some things that, we have made progress on, and that's one of them. Let's see. Matt says, all my district manager ever did was ask me to send an hour's budget and then tell me to cut 13% off our skeleton crew. Not sure if he ever looked at it. Probably just looked at the bottom number and said, oh no, that's too high. Didn't look at what you had scheduled at all. You could have had it scheduled where only one person was working every day, and he would have missed that completely. He was just looking at the totals. And yeah, I mean, district managers basically are just the deliverers of bad news. There's nothing good there. I mean, at all. I've only had one district manager, in my life that I thought was okay. That actually did some work. The rest of them, no, not a one. Most of them were really slimy, like used car salesmen, and you wouldn't trust them as far as you could throw them. Ira says, what would be better in your opinion, unions canvassing for workers or government legislation? Oh, I've said this before. Unions, the initial idea of union sounds great, but the fact that they offer the same protections for good employees and bad employees is a problem. All right. So it shouldn't be that way. All right. Government legislations, it depends. I think a mix of both. But, Russell says, I mean, it's economics all. Less supply, more demand. It's the same as our now $15 minimum wage. Cut the workforce in half and you can pay better. COVID. See, supply and demand is bullshit. It used to mean something. It doesn't now. Because you can manufacture a false demand. And once it got to the point that you could manufacture numbers out of thin air, it's a useless conversation at that point. Do unions have lobbyists? Yeah. Yeah, that would be another conversation, talk about that. Iron Maid says, even though most of those male DMs had moobs anyway. Wow. I found that, like, especially in that situation, Iron Maiden, I think that DM just enjoyed it because he acted like he had his own little harem, to be honest with you. The value of the dollar is up to who? Exactly. It's not up to any of us. And, if you gotta, once again, Russell, you go back to the chart. Why in 1970 did religious stagnate, but everything else go up? Inflation at this point. It's manufactured. These are a lot of things that people use, as excuses to why they hold the little person down. Inflation. We had a whole episode where we talked about cost push inflation. These companies don't have to raise prices on everything. They could, because the only reason they're raising prices is to make sure they don't make less money. That's all. It still comes down to somebody getting richer off of somebody who doesn't have the money to afford it. That's where legislation needs to come in and be like, look, you shouldn't be able to sell a Gibson Les Paul for $2,500 when it only costs $1,200 to build it. That's price gouging. There should be like an amount of profit that is routinely accepted, not overboard. And like Hero said, it's only worth what someone is willing to pay for it. The Fuck Today says it also shouldn't cost $4,000 for a trip to the ER. Correct. And Matt says, let's get a lobbyist. Can I be a lobbyist? Is it like an influencer where I just say I'm a lobbyist and then I am? God, I wish it was, because you'd be great. If it was that easy, yep, let's go. We'll hold hands and skip and we'll lobby our asses all the way to the White House. Let's go. But, and like I said, I get sick of hearing about, look, honestly, working for Guitar Center was a very eye-opening experience for me, because when, it was the first place I ever worked where I got to see cost and profit intertwined at the same time in real time as you're making deals. And when you start seeing these profit margins and stuff, you start to realize how much people are really getting ripped off. I mean, it really is. I mean, I've used the story that I bought plenty of guitars from, South Korea that are great guitars that didn't cost near as much as like some of these fancy schmancy American guitars, but it does what I need it to do. It's just the profit margins are too high. Ira says, look at the inflation between minimum wage and stock price of the big retailers in the last 30 years. There you go, 100%. You've got probably 15 major businesses out there that really are the driving force in, making the cost of things go up. Walmart's one of those that they work on the premise of volume. Whatever they're losing in profits, they'll make up for in just mass selling, period. And, oh, but here's a coupon for 10% off. Yeah. Perceived value. That's what that is. Perceived value. 10%. Yep. So, good stuff. Good stuff. Russell says there was a time you get what you pay for. Now you get what makes the most money for them people. That is 100% correct. Like I said, the guitar thing, it says that. I mean, that proves that. I mean, they paid $1,200 to manufacture this instrument, but they're selling it for a profit of $1,200 more dollars. And here's what's funny is that company for years was voted one of the worst companies in the United States to work for. Go figure. Iron Maiden says, yay. I don't have to pay sales tax with the 10% off coupon, even though I shouldn't be getting taxed on clothing because it's a necessity and I can't legally walk around naked. Things that make you go, definitely. And, and like I said, taxes, there again too. I mean, everything is geared around, low wage workers not being able to get ahead, the taxes that come out of your paycheck, all this other stuff. And it's just about taking from people. You've got to cross a certain threshold. I mean, and I'll really be honest with you, I think you got to make $100,000 more a year to really, really, really feel like you're comfortable. Let's see. Did you guys all read that thing by Kylie, What the Fuck, for the Federalist, where she didn't think paying workers more was fair to her because her bullshit bowl supreme at Chipotle went up 30 cents? Yes, I read that. Yeah, you sent that to me. Yeah, that was, see, people can talk about the media all they want, but still, they suck all over the place. I mean, they're printing garbage bullshit like that. Saying that it's because of the unemployment, the government unemployment is because her Chipotle bowl went up 30 cents. A, I don't know why you eating at Chipotle. B, isn't there something else you can report on? Isn't there more important things going on in the world than you paying 30 cents more for your fucking Chipotle? It's going to make you go to the bathroom and probably give you salmonella or some shit. I mean, really. Yeah. But yeah, that was terrible. She's mad at her anus. I bet so. Her anus is probably not real happy with her either. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just think that, I've got a lot of people who are still in the business. A lot of people, friends of mine that are managers, like the fuck today, I know it sucks, man. It sucks for you guys. It sucked to begin with. It's just now an extra level of suckage, but man, it's time for changes. It's time for this shit to stop. And I'm sick of seeing companies use excuses to basically mistreat their people. Because if you're not willing to pay them better and give them better benefits, you're mistreating them. It's abuse. No other way you look at it. So, Russell says, if I can fix it myself, I will. If I can't, I'll pay another. But nowadays it's easier to just throw one out and buy another. It's sad, really. Yeah, a lot of stuff is like that. Unfortunately, a whole lot of things are like that. And we, we're living in a country right now that's trying to pass legislation called right to repair. Think about that. The companies, and this affects, my beloved video game industry. these video game companies don't want you rooting around in their systems repairing shit. But you should have the right to fix it if you're able to do so without any kind of penalty. And, I mean, I'm not a mechanic, and our Jeep that we had for 20 years, I'm not a mechanic, but by God, I could watch the hell out of a YouTube video. And my relationship with that Jeep became quite intimate because of that. I can fix a lot of shit now. Iron Maiden says things aren't manufactured to last. That way you have to keep buying. That's correct too. We use Jeep as a prime example. My wife bought that Jeep. She had it for 20 years. There ain't no Jeep made now that you'd be lucky to get 120,000 miles out of. It's terrible. Hero says the manufacturing companies care if you get caught and chewed up and spat out at your job. Retail cares if you clog the machine. Oh my God, that is beautiful. Beautiful. Retail does care if you clog the machine. We're expected to be in retail janitors, parents, punching bags, hazardous waste disposal people. I mean, it's awful, what retail employees have to put up with. I mean, especially if you work in an area that's not so good and you get to see, you have people come in wanting to buy balloons that say it's your day for a funeral. Those are the kind of people you're dealing with. So it's not good. Maiden says, best car I ever had was an 89 Buick LeSabre. I don't have it anymore, but someone else does, and it's still going. Matt says, we've all had to play Find the Dopper. Yeah, that's always fun. Or isn't it really shitty? Like you go on a cart run outside and, the carts have been sitting out in the summer heat, or like in your case, in the Florida heat, and somebody's left, a dirty Dopper in that shopping cart for hours. It's just awful. Or the people that use the trash cans at the front of the door to empty out like all their like Bojangles or food trash and start flying around and whatnot. It's awful. Planned obsolescence. It's a part of the retail strategy. Correct, Irish. Sure is. Everything becomes obsolete. Sad part is humans are too. Meat in the ceiling tiles. Wow. That's a new one. Oh, wait a minute. You mean like somebody climbed up and put meat up there they were going to steal? Because that I understand. Throw it down. We got a parking lot sweeper. Oh, yeah, and that's another thing, these, and we've heard people say this, a kid messes something up in the store and goes to fix it, actually has a moment of humanity thinking, I made a mess, I'm going to clean it up, and the parent's like, oh, don't worry about that. They pay people to clean that up. Listen, bitch, the packaging where they stole, yeah. Matt says, I've had to clean movie theaters. I'll have nightmares the rest of my life about some of those messes. Yeah, that had to be terrible. That had to be an awful, awful cleanup. I can only imagine because, I mean, we've all been in high school. We've all went to movies and we all know that some unsavory. God, I cannot imagine the cleanup after a Rocky Horror Show. Oh, good Lord. Ooh, that'd be rough. But yeah, you're probably better off that you got out of that. That's terrible. That's got to be nasty as hell. Gives you the heebie-jeebies just thinking about going to the movies, honestly. It's like, what's been in this seat? Gross. So, all right, ladies and gents, this has been a lot of fun. We're sitting at an hour and 20 minutes. And, I like this. I like having new people show up, man. I like to get some of you guys, like, on mic. Let you talk. Let you rant. I don't have to always talk. My wife says I do, but I don't. I would rather listen to people, to be honest with you. Matt says, luckily, we never played Rocky Horror. Worst was a high school field trip, I bet. Well, Matt, I'm glad you showed up, man. I really enjoy interacting with you guys on Twitter. I know Angry Essential Chick, I've had some communications with her about being on the show, actually. So hopefully we'll see what goes on with that. I think that the only way the voices are going to get heard is to get louder. And, whether we do it through memes, t-shirts, podcasts, whatever, now's the time. It's put up or shut up for a lot of people. And I don't think, I don't think the window's as large as we'd like to. Matt, I agree. Yeah, retail Twitter is far the best Twitter community. Super supportive, it is. Whereas, some of the stuff I've gotten off of Reddit, it's more like drive-by bitching, At least on Twitter, there's more of a conversation that goes on, and which is important. I mean, and that's kind of my goal for this whole thing. I would love to have a night where this entire screen is filled with like little blocks of different random aliases and, some sort of round table where everybody just goes off. I mean, just, it's kind of like the night I had all the ladies do the show. I'm like, okay, I'll set you up. Y'all handle it. I'll just sit over here and listen with my headphones. Yeah, Insta is just memes. Funny, but no conversation, no connection. Russell, I don't know if I could handle you on here. I might have to slap you down. I mean, you was my right-hand man. You was my Daryl. Yeah, but sometimes you get kind of froggy, But it's okay. We survived the Dollar Tree. That's all that mattered. We survived the Dollar Tree in the hood. That's all that mattered. Neither one of us got shot or stabbed. Knock on wood. So that was great. But yeah, everybody showed up tonight. Appreciate it. Next Wednesday, Irish, probably gonna get with you because I've got all that other stuff that you sent me. We can do a whole episode around that. Oh no, you don't want to move your store over to Cherrydale. What's really funny is I saw, before we go, I saw that they're going to open up a Five Below and a Hobby Lobby over in Cherrydale. Russell, think about that. A Hobby Lobby in Cherrydale. Can you imagine? That's going to be god awful. That will be the worst looking Hobby Lobby ever. That shit gonna get just oh. Holo, not book. What? Yeah, Jesus's Craft Store is coming to the hood. Nice. Yeah. Fun story though. When I worked for Jesus Craft Store, I would go over and like take hits off the helium machine and like, get on the intercom. That was always fun. Yeah. Nobody said I was bright. I don't know why my wife married me. She's smarter than that, but she did anyway. So anyway, everybody, thanks for being here. Wednesday night, 8:00. We do this same time every week. If you've got ideas, send them to me. I mean, the email is, in our description. It's generationvoid@gmail.com. Send us stuff. This is a lot of fun. I enjoy doing this, and I enjoy when we have other people involved. The community here is small, but growing, and it gets more fun with every passing day. Maybe next time Iron Maiden will show up on time. So anyway, just messing Iron Maiden. So everybody, you guys have a great night. We'll continue the conversation next week.